Well, hello, and welcome to Stop, Let's Team Up, Those Daring Defenders, Episode 8, where I'm going to be talking Marvel Feature number 3. My name's Ross Aiken, your host here. And we are on the last comic before Defenders issue number 1. This will be the third issue of Marvel Feature. This is Marvel Feature number 3, the last of the tryout. The last of what leads up to the Defender series itself. So let me give you the data on this one from Marvel Fandom and some numbers and some guests and some artists. And then I'll give you my opinion on this fun little ditty of a comic. It is Marvel Feature Volume 1, Number 3. Its cover date is June 1972, which would make it March 72 release date. I'm about... I didn't read this. I read this later. I didn't read it as it came out. It is titled A Titan Walks Among Us. The cover is by Gil Kane, Ralph Reese, and Sam Rosen. It is absolutely stunning. It's a really pretty cover. I really, really like it. It is written by Roy Thomas, woohoo. Pencil Ross Andru, inker Bill Everet. Letter Artie Simic, and editor Stan Lee. The lineup is Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, Submariner, Namor, Hulk, Bruce Banner, Jim Wilson from the Hulk book is here, so is Thunderbolt Ross. The antagonist is a giant squid. Why that is listed in this, I do not know. And Xemnu, an alien. And this is a weird little comic, but let's get to the synopsis, and then I'm going to give you my opinion. With the Hulk nowhere in sight, General Ross takes Jim Wilson to supervise a splashdown of 2 astronauts returning from space. When their capsule sinks, it is saved by the Submariner, who is rudely dismissed for his efforts. The astronauts in question soon quit NASA in order to start their own television show called The Astronauts. One of the astronauts on the show is a giant woolly creature that wins the hearts of children all over the world. However, what appears to be a lovable character is really Xemnu, an alien from outer space who has taken possession over the body of one of the astronauts and plans on coercing the children who watch him on television to follow him to his home planet, where he intends on converting them into members of his own race so he may no longer be lonely anymore. Suspicious of Xemu's intentions, Jim gets in touch with Doctor Strange, who calls upon Namor and brings the attention of the Hulk after posing as the Green Goliath on a televised event. The three learn Xemu's true plot and battle him. When he is about to transport the children under his thrall into space, the Hulk seemingly pounds Xemnu into non-existence. When the battle is over, all parties depart when the military tries to take the Hulk. Well, that's the synopsis, and I really enjoyed this comic. It is a lot different than the last one. It actually... reminds me almost as if it was a Steve Gerber Defenders, because the Xemu's kind of weird, and the whole TV show is kind of kitschy and weird in a way. But I want to talk about a couple things first. It's Roy Thomas, who I really love, and I really do enjoy this comic, and I have enjoyed all 3 of the Marvel feature ones, and I really enjoyed the Submariner stuff and the Hulk stuff and the Doctor Strange stuff before that, but this isn't a highlight of the Defenders run for me. It's a neat little segue into what we're going to get when we get to Defenders number 1, which is by Steve Englehart, one of my favorite team writers, and then when Englehart leaves, we've got Steve Gerber, the Steve Gerber Defenders is just over the top great. And I love both of those. And I love the David Anthony Krass, and I like the Ed Hannigan. I'm pretty good with the book until toward the end in the run, when I think of it being consistently good. What I do love about this is, one, the art, the Bill Everet art, the Ross Andru art, inked by Bill Everet. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's really well done. And I think he kind of embellishes Submariner to look more like his Submariner from the 40s in his stuff. And it's wonderful. And it's got dynamic action throughout. Great splash page where a Titan walks, which is the shadow of Xemnu with the title in his chest, and then the 3 main characters standing underneath it. The capsule's cool. I was an astronaut nut as a little kid. Still am a little bit, but the capsule's cool. It's kind of like. So this is 72. We've been to the moon, so it's more. It's kind of like the capsule looks like a mix between a Gemini and a Apollo, but it's good and it looks good. And there's a lot of. It's just really. I like the way he draws. I kind of like the way he draws Jim Wilson. I know who Jim Wilson is, and I've read comics with Jim Wilson in the Hulk during the Trimpy era. But I wasn't a regular reader, so this is making me itch to go back and read some of this stuff. Maybe I'll read some of the solo stuff that's running concurrently with this, and if they make references, I will be a better podcast host and do a little homework. But it's good. The stuff with the kid show, it really reminds me of the kid shows we watched as a kid. I mean, I grew up outside of D.C., so we had. Bozo and Willard Scott. If you remember Willard Scott from the Today Show, he was our Bozo. He was also Ronald McDonald. We had that when I was a little kid in San Diego. I miss going to. They had a show like this about with a constable, like an old timey constable, and it was on the channel what we call Channel 5 in New York or in DC in New York, which there were 5 stations that became the first Fox network shows. They were the last 5 D008 era shows. I'm not old enough to remember D008. You have to go Google that, kids. But they had these kind of shows where it's kind of zany and there's the big costume thing, like kind of like not H&R Puffs, like Sigmund and the Sea Monsters and stuff like that, and pie throwing, and it's kind of kitschy and funny. Excuse me, I'm being interrupted by Hugs the dog. She wants to be on the show because it's dinner time and I'm talking comics. So, but yeah, there's, I think there's a little segment where they go to the studio, Jim and Hulk. It's on pages 11, 12, and 13. And Steven's disguised as the Hulk, and then they use his cape as a magic carpet, and he puts it on and he becomes that. It's just a lot of fun. Thunderbolt Ross is in the background, and we get all these zany headlines, the toys. But it's kind of like, and then the battle scene is, I don't know. It just, the explanation to what the monster's going to do. And Zemo had appeared before, and it was in twice before. He was seen in Monsters on the Prowl 11 and 14. And I tried to look on the app for those comics. They weren't in there. And I might dig them up and bring them back, because I think he comes back in the Defenders or somewhere else. Because I know him from more than this. But from this, we're going to go into the regular Defenders. But, I mean, it's okay. It's a good comic. It is a comic of its time. It's a tryout book. I don't think Roy's trying to do, because it keeps to be they come together and then they split up. They come together, they split up. I think Englehart starts to take the book into somewhat of a forward motion, where there is things that happen and there are ramifications for what happens. It's not a reset at the end. He's not worrying about what's going on in other books, I guess. I mean, Stephen Strange, I don't know if his book is back in going on at this moment, but the story's just a little light. And of all the ones I've read, from that's Doctor Strange to this one, before we move into Defenders #1, this is my least favorite. I mean, it's a serviceable early 70s comic book with pretty art. And an okay Roy Thomas script. It's not the greatest Roy Thomas script, but it's worth a read, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you guys hearing me and Billy from A World on Fire and All-Star Squadron podcast, and Zany Haney, his Bob Haney Team Up podcast, which is coming out. Because we've already discussed Defenders #1. I'm really looking forward to. There's a lot of Sal Buscema coming up, so there'll be me gushing about his art. I think Englehart does a really good job. I don't know the early stuff up until about 6 and 7. I know that Defenders Roar, because I've reread the Avengers, and I've reread that story maybe a dozen times, and it's more Englehart excellence. And then after that, when we get into the Gerber stuff, which is as my absolute favorite. So we're heading into some really exciting, fun comic books. But it's great. And so far, we've only got we've got 3 members of the Defenders. So 4 if you count Silver Surfer. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But there'll be new people joining and people coming and going. But it's all going to be exciting. This is worth a read just to do it. It's on the app. Please check it out. It's collected in the Essential. I'm reading the Essential Volume 1. It's probably in the Masterworks. I don't know what's in the Masterworks. I'm discovering things are in certain reprint volumes. I'm a big Starman, and I found out there's going to be stuff in the second Starman compendium that's not in the omnibuses I have. So I'll be buying the second. I'm probably going to go buy both of them so I have them, and they'll just become my reading copies. I'm enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So next up on Saturday, it will be me talking to you about a DC Comics Presents with Superman and the Prince Graven Starman. It won the 3rd poll for the team-up books. And next Tuesday, of course, is My Legion Adventure with another new member joining. I got a lot of new members have been coming in. We got another one coming in with the next issue. And then as I said, a week from today, we will have Defenders #1, me and the amazing Billy D. Okay? So, folks, do me a favor. Some crazy stuff in this world. This world's a little wacky. Stuff's going on. And I know I keep saying that, but do me a favor. Be smart. Be safe. Wash your hands. Wear a mask when you're in public, folks. I just had COVID again. It's not gone. So for your own safety, if you're in a crowd and in places you don't know anybody, it's in your best interest to wear a mask. And also be kind to one another, please. Be kind. It's important. And also read some comics. They'll make you feel better. Peace.